Hey, I'm Matt Firor, Game Director of the Elder Scrolls Online at ZeniMax Online Studios.
So we are at Gamescom 2013 and we have Matt Firor, the Game Director of the Elder Scrolls Online here for an interview. And I would like to start with a question about something that's very recently announced by you. It's you will have a subscription model based on you buy the game and then you pay monthly subscription fees. Why did you decide to choose this?
So we looked at all of the options, and there's many different ways to pay for games these days, and we really felt that the one that actually best met our game was subscription, because all of the other types mostly revolve around you going in game, something happening, like you go to a dungeon and you can't go in it because you haven't paid for it, and then you have to go pay for it. And Elder Scrolls is all about freedom, like I'm in the game, I'm playing for hours and hours at a time, so we wanted to make sure that the money stuff happened outside the game. But once you do that, you go in the game and then you never worry about it again. So that's obviously month by month, but that's why we came up with that. And on top of it really matching what the Elder Scrolls means, it also gives us kind of the steady revenue stream, so we can do very, very frequent content updates after launch. We're already working on content now that'll come after launch, and we want to make sure that we roll that out quickly and have a kind of a premium service experience.
Okay.
In case the premium model fails, so the subscription model, do you have any second plan you can fall back on?
We're working on our system, so we're working on subscription right now. We're launching with that, and we're happy with it.
Yeah, so it's all about not interrupting the gameplay by having to pay some things. Yeah, that's really cool, I think. But much people think that subscription model is outdated, that players don't want to have this. Do you plan to have any kind of demo version of the game or some test version so that players can have a look at the game and decide if they want to buy it and if they want to pay the subscription?
Yeah, we're talking about having some kind of open beta before we launch, which would do that. And we're going to announce things like that kind of in the future. We're not talking about that right now, but expect to hear some news about that at some point.
Okay, cool.
Do you have any time span yet, how long it takes to reach the maximum level?
We have guidelines, so we have people in the office that have reached level 50, but of course in our game you can reach level 50 and it's a skill-based system, so you can still learn new skills, so it's not the end. But each alliance has 120 to 150 hours of content, not counting dungeons or PvP, and then you can play all three alliances. So it's 450 hours of content. So it's a lot. That's our metric that we use. Obviously, super hardcore players are going to go through it faster, but if you're an average player, it should take about that much time.
Talking about leveling, you said that leveling in Elder Scrolls Online will be more like a single-player game or multiplayer with only playing together with your friends. So don't you have don't you see that there a problem when the people hit 50 and they want to do PvP, that they don't have a chance to get guilds, meet other players in their alliance, to get together, that they will hit at the multiplayer content without being socialized in the game?
That's actually a great point. So when we talk about not requiring the player to group, mostly we're talking about that early in the game. Like, it's not in your face, the interface isn't in your face, you don't force people to group, but over time you're going to learn, you're going to go in a public dungeon, see another player, he needs help, you go in and help him, you start talking, you make friends, from that you join guilds. So we want to make players, meet people in the game, kind of in context, and then yes, they need to make friends, they need to join guilds, because obviously at the very high end, especially in PvP, you want to have groups, guilds, and tons of friends.
So the social aspect in a multiplayer game is always very important, but there are always players who interrupt other players in that kind, so they assault them, harass them. What are you planning to do with them?
We're putting a lot of emphasis on customer support here, and it's not just I have a problem, I'm calling customer support. It's also making sure that players aren't harassing other players, making sure the game experience is good for all of them. Also, we have a technology we call Mega Server. We announced it a year ago, where when you get into the game, you don't pick a shard. You just get put into game spaces. Over time, you're going to be put in spaces with your guildmates, with your friends, with people that you played before. So after you play the game for a few months, you're going to know almost everyone that you're in the game with, and you're not going to run across a lot of people that you don't know that could potentially harass you, except maybe in PvP, and then you can kill them. So all good.
Social aspects. There are guilds in the game, and you can have up to 5 guilds, you announced, and you said that it's a point that you can play with your friends and play with your colleagues and play with social groups, I would call it. So what we are wondering is you can also put all alliances in one guild. That's right, or isn't it? You can have it.
Players from different alliances in the same guild.
Yeah. Okay. So don't you think that this is a problem in PvP? People talking in the guild chat, for example, if this exists in Elder Scrolls Online, about strategic things or such like?
So the reason why that exists is friends and guilds are account-based, not character-based. So of course you can have multiple characters. So yes, they can be at different alliances. We're working right now on that system. Our baseline, just thinking about it, is that when you go into Cyrodiil, you can't, even when you guild chat, no one outside of your guild chat doesn't work with players of the other alliance when you're actually in the PvP area. But if you're not in the PvP area, it doesn't really matter. You can chat with anyone.
So is it possible to hide characters from guilds? So if you're in one guild with your account, so you can hide different characters so you can play offline?
That's a feature that we've been asked about in beta. We're not sure if we can do it, but we're looking at it.
Okay. There are the main aspect of PvE content in online games is mostly to fight big bosses. So can you give us an example of a boss fight in the Elder Scrolls Online? What makes this boss fight extremely cool in your...
Yeah, so Elder Scrolls is not so much about 50-foot tall monsters. Like that's just not what the IP has. So we have very few of those encounters. Most of our big encounters are mostly a boss, but he is controlling an army of friends. And think of it more like PvP. It's like it's you and your group against this boss and his group. And so he can direct them to go different places and go behind you and stun you and things. So a lot of times the puzzle that you have to work out is which one of his friends to attack first, or you attack him first or his friends. And so it's much more of a many versus many instead of a many versus one type situation.
How many dungeons are approximately at the end of the game? So in the end game content?
Yeah, so as you level, there are at least 2 dungeons in every zone. So there's maybe 16. Each of those, half of those are public and half are instanced. And all of the instance ones become endgame dungeons later. With the storyline that you did for the dungeon when you were low level, you get to the end and then you come back and the story continues. So you go through the same dungeon and then there's a whole new part of it. So I think, and you can set difficulty layers. You can set, medium, difficult, crazy, hard, and so there should be many by the time we launch.
PvP. There will be fortresses in the Elder Scrolls Online, and you can encounter them. You can destroy walls of them. And you said in one of the last interviews, I believe, that you have to rebuild the fortresses when you destroyed parts of it. So how will that happen?
When you control a stronghold, your guild or your group, yeah, you get options. There's a place you click on it that you can see options and upgrade, repair. You can spend resources to repair. Every stronghold is protected by other resources, towers, little towers, farms, mines, things like that. And if those are all protected around it, the repair happens much faster. So it's very strategic, almost like a turn-based strategy game where you need to make sure that the resources around the stronghold are strong, and then it gets stronger. So of course, when you're fighting, you want to go after the resources first, and you take those, and then the stronghold becomes weaker, and then you take the stronghold.
So in PvP you have the option to fight other players, of course, and it's very strategically to know what you're encountering. But in Elder Scrolls Online you have the option to skill whatever you want, to wear whatever armor and weapon you want, and of course to modify your armor and weapon optically. So is there any way to see what you're encountering as an enemy?
Not until they start stabbing you. So, but we're not really a class-based game, so you need to look at what they're doing just to figure it out. But you'll figure it out pretty quickly.
What's with the strongholds when you're offline? When no one in your guild is online, can they be attacked by guilds from other alliances?
Absolutely. You need to have a guild rotation, and you'll need to protect them. There are NPC guards, of course, so 8 players can't come and take your stronghold away from you. But yeah, you need to be careful.
Okay. So I have a question about a single word or a composition of words. You don't want Elder Scrolls Online to be called an MMORPG. Why do you want to avoid this term?
We don't avoid it. Like I say it all the time. The problem is it doesn't really mean anything anymore. In 2004, if you walk down the street and asked a gamer what an MMO was, they would tell you exactly what it was. It's a fantasy-based game that, but now it can be World of Tanks, it can be League of Legends, it can be World of Warcraft, it can be Guild Wars, it's like anything can be an MMO if it has lots of players. So, that's why we're saying online RPG, because we want to make sure people understand it's an RPG, online multiplayer. So we're not running away from the term, it's just it's so vague now that it's hard to explain exactly what it is by just saying MMO.
And you ever talk about PvP and PvE? There's a third fraction of players who love games like online RPGs, the RPG players. Do you have anything for them? Any options they can use? Anything?
You mean a traditional RPG player? Yeah. We have the next Elder Scrolls game. So, it's you can play it solo if you want. You can play all the way up to max level, go through the main story just like you would in Morrowind or Oblivion or Skyrim. Yes, you'll see other players around, but if you want to play this game and just do the quests and explore and do the main story, and the only multiplayer you do is buying, items from your guild marketplace, that's fine. That's multiplayer. You're still using the fact there are other players in the world, and that's fine if you want to do it. You can play the way you want.
Okay. So my last question would be, or it's my second last question. My second last question is, can you tell us anything about an European beta?
No, but news will be coming soon.
Okay, soon is cool. So my last question is, in every interview with a developer, we ask this question at the end. If you have something secret and awesome to share with our users, something exclusive, something nice they want to know and you can talk about?
I've said so much about the game in the last 2 days. I don't know if there's anything I haven't actually talked about. I'd have to think about that. But I think the one thing that's the coolest part of the game that we talk about some, but no one really asks us a lot, is two things. One, our class development system is amazing because one guy can be a sorcerer but wear plate armor and use a two-handed sword, and you can be a healer that sneaks around, and backstabs people, So you can have all these crazy combinations. It's so much fun. In the office, we kind of all talk about what builds we like, and we don't like to tell anyone what our build is because we don't want to give away our secrets and stuff. So that's pretty cool. The other thing that we never get to talk about is that the game is only half of what we're doing. We have the giant IT exercise that the game sits on top of, all the servers and data centers and making sure your account works and connecting to customer support. And so the game is really just half of it for us, and it's a very important one. It's the product, but we need to deliver it to the players too, and so the other part is very important.
Yeah, it's a really huge change for a company like ZeniMax to make an online RPG with all the infrastructure you need in the background, all the customer support. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, thank you for the interview.
Thank you.